So you've been practicing dynamics, and you mentioned that you wanted to share the struggles that you managed to overcome. What was that?
Firstly, I have to say that for me, dynamics so far was the hardest thing to train, because for me it was very unusual to train myself to keep your attention only to changing in intensity of the sound, changing of volume, and how you perceive it and how you can control it. To play forte, in my apartment, I was thinking, wow, maybe I kind of shy, play forte, but yes, I overcame this too and played forte, and I was good with it.
It's so strange, I'm sorry, it's so strange to hear from a person who's been studying music for so long and going for his master in piano performance. I was afraid to play forte because I think I never played forte.
Yes,
so it's good, you're discovering dynamics finally, yes.
This kind of rapid training of this future projections, pre-feeling the next note in my mind, so I can train it in my mind, and my imagination becomes more lucid, more solid, more vibrant.
Yes, I can totally relate to everything you said. I remember switching at some point in my mind when I started creating, when I started doing mental practice, understanding that understanding that I can only focus on what can I do now for the future. Just what you said. What is important and now is not even now. It's what is important and now is what you do now for the future. Actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember that it was a big switch in my mind when playing. And yes, I'm very. I think I told in the first lessons that there is no clear measure how vibrant you should imagine the notes, but there is no limit to it. You can always improve it, and you will improve it the more you practice, and it will come to you faster, and even more complicated texture you will grasp in your mind in a much faster way. So the first thing I would like is to hear how you playing exercises with 6 levels of dynamics. You can take just one interval and start abusing it.
All right.
Alright, the first big mistake you make. Remember we talked about the double roll you need to use only in the world of forte. You started doing it in mezzo piano or something, and it just felt like unnecessary movement. It was not оправдано.
Я понимаю.
Didn't have a reason. So only start making double roll when you play forte and fortissimo. So let's do it again. This is all good. When you play the second note, making double roll on the second note is not really necessary, but I don't see any problem when you do it. So what I mean is that you can play first tone, and then on the second tone, you can just move your wrist to the right. You don't have to do 2 rolls. I mean, double roll only makes sense when we think about future, yeah? So if you're about to connect it to the next note on forte in slow tempo, then yes.
maybe I just instinctively try
To
to
release
avoid
tension.
the tension. Yes.
Yes, I understand. That's why I said there's nothing wrong with that, but it's also possible not to make it, because sometimes unnecessary movements will bring some tension.
Yeah.
Yes, so we didn't talk about how to imagine sound texture harmony, so we're squeezing the harmony level between sound texture and dynamics, what you've done now. So you were on your own trying to combine sound texture, harmony, dynamics, and sound movement at the end, right? Did you have any questions about it? Because you were just reading my book and watching the video, basically.
The main struggle is not to lose one thing in case for other. Well, it's like about losing sound movement when you imagine forward, losing. Well, I think it's a matter of concentration.
In the beginning, just to make sure that all the layers are there. Yes, but it's like with the cake. When you make the cake, you make sure you make different layers. But when it's done, it's just one tasty, delicious, sweet thing. You're not thinking, oh, there's this first layer, there's a second. You just taste all of this together. But yes, as a matter of focusing and training your mind to keep the focus on all four layers, you need to just really register them in the beginning. But yes, later it's going to be just one thing. Until we reach phrasing, which is in book 3, we're basically playing everything out of rhythm. I mean, we both know that probably we're at the level that, we don't need to play in rhythm to prove ourselves that we can play in rhythm. But so rather take, each note as a star of the universe, and take the time and use the rhythm for your benefits, to have enough time to create all the four layers, to create in between the notes the future of the next note, so you have enough time. Okay, well, let's see. This is the face of a satisfied teacher. It takes time to create that channel between impulses in your mind and the fingertips. So even if you sometimes imagine clearly piano, it takes time for the touch to adjust. But it will adjust because you're in the right way. So yes, I would say in 1 month from now, it will be much, much better, but it's already quite good. All right, so the first question, why do we need voicing? Yes, right, someone said in playing, sometimes it feels too many notes. So it's also for the audience, sometimes you feel like overwhelmed, it's almost too much, and sometimes especially, the masters of voicing, Mikhail Plетnev and Ivo Pogorelych. Especially after Ivo Pogorelych came back a few years ago again. This is something. It's like, especially if you listen to his Itzi's Varachmaninov, he just brings up the voicing you've never heard before. So it's also in a way a good way to introduce a piece in a fresh way, in a fresh manner. So usually voicing is the top of mastery. especially if you need, and we'll talk about it, in voicing playing exercise. We will play a chord, and in 4 notes we'll voice each of them. So make the voicing very clear, and at the same time to be able to play the chord all together. Yeah, a good exercise for your muscles as well. Okay, so it leads to absence of voicing, leads to inexpressive melody, heavy sound overall. That's what I said, like too many notes. Unclear melody in double notes. If you have lots of that, for example, in Liszt and his transcriptions, when like the melody is between the hands, you know, and sometimes you lose the melody. So there is a sense of magic to it, because usually when, like what you said, so basically voicing is about how close or far from us we can imagine the source of the sound. Which basically we talk about the intensity and the clarity of the sound itself. Even if we imagine piano, let's say we have melody, everything is in piano, there is a melody and there are like a thick chordal texture in the left hand, all on piano. What usually would teachers say? Oh, make the melody singing and touch your left hand softer, right? So touching your left hand softer will never work. You will actually lose. So what will work is to simply imagine that melody in the same room with you on piano, but because it's piano, it's almost like you're putting your head inside that sound, so you feel all the molecules of that piano, you know. And when you do that in a natural way, I don't know how, but in a natural way, it's probably the law of relativity. In a natural way, that thick chordal texture in piano will be imagined in another room, and it will become softer. So all we need to do is to focus better on the melody in the same room with you, and then the left hand will naturally become softer. So that's a very, very good trick that it took me years to realize. What should we avoid when imagining voicing, and why? So when we imagine that sound, let's say even if it's written all pianissimo, when we take that melody and we imagine that we listen, we hear it in the same room, just like with piano, it's a little bit like with piano. We try to avoid to imagine sound sharper. Because sometimes also teachers say, melody should be more clear. So it's a very vague thing that sometimes might lead to just imagining it sharper. And when you try to imagine it sharper, it loses its size, just like in piano. And it will again echo in the sensation and muscles. And another thing is imagining voicing without sound movement. Again, just like with piano, right? So if you forgot to add that 5th layer at the end of sound movement, again, your touch just to even will become vertical, and so you will end up having this sharp banging sound. So do not reduce the size of the note when you imagine it in front of you. Do not make it sharper. And don't forget sound movement, long sound movement. Okay. So we talked about playing double notes when we're at the topic of wrist motion. And I was suggesting already there that we never connect or never hold 2 notes till the very last time before connecting to the next one. We have to let go one of the notes. Presumably we most of the time playing on the pedal, and if not, we can use technical pedal. So here this approach is very, very relevant, because it will also help you to voice the right note. So if you look at the score and you know that in the future, for example, you're going to voice maybe a lower part in double notes, then you will hold on to that lower part when you play and let go the top notes. And that will also help you to make correct voicing. I'm gonna make, let's say, mezzo piano with movements. Okay, and now I'm gonna imagine the top notes closer. And I say, no, with me. And so when I play, letting go of the, and so if I play with a pedal, let's say, okay, this is easier, but now let's say I'm gonna voice the lower note. So I'm gonna hold on to that note with my lower fingers and let go of my top fingers. So I'm gonna play maybe the first time without pedals, so you could see. Now with a pedal. So for example, top. So that also, again, if dynamics requires some time to start channeling it through the muscle and make this connection with the muscle here, well, ligaments and joints, and touch over here, then voicing, yes. Like voicing would take double time to do that. And so the same with the chords, if you have, let's say, this a diminished chord, we never hold all the notes in the chords. And in terms of that, when we reach voicing, then we choose to which note to hold on according to our choice of voicing. So if this is the top note, we play and we let go. But let's say if it was this, for example, to the left, then and we'll let go everything else instead of just holding. So in this voicing playing exercise, again, everything is written, just follow the instructions and the video. And there are pianissima and fortissima, and I think that's kind of enough to start, so don't try to make all 6 dynamics with this exercise because it's pretty intense, right? And then the same one you will have with the chords, where you're gonna voice but let's talk about this one exercise because the movements are important. So all of this you're gonna make like this in a sequence when you're gonna practice it. And I think in the video actually I only have this exercise when you just play the right hand to the right and you just imagine just that. But you can also try imagining C to the left, then the rest to the right, and then to the left. Kind of just make it this continuous loop and just keep playing, keep playing. But it's important not to stop between, to really make it with a natural movement of the wrist. Because if you froze and then you kind of start again, it will not give you this momentum in your movement that will help you to control your tone and touch. So you have to make it in the stream.
Inertia.
To keep that inertia, exactly.
It's like when we play this one voice melody with right movements.
Yes, Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. Yes. Voicing is one of the hardest. I mean, you thought dynamics is hard, but voicing is the hardest. It's the top. And it's also, the way it's layered in sound imagination. Sound texture, harmony, dynamics, voicing. It's all kind of going with advanced skills of sound imagination. Well, I hope you're ready. Yes, and so 10 days will be just enough for you if you're gonna practice maybe 2-3 hours a day to make this simple exercise. And to make the chord exercise, because you need to make it with separate hands and then you need to make it with both hands, so you're imagining actually 4 notes at the same time and you voice only 2.
What if, when we imagine, for example, 2 hands with playing chords, and for example, in right hand we imagine upper voice, in left hand we imagine lower voice, and we have this hierarchy in each hand, but on the next layer we have hierarchy between both hands. So we double voice. We voice in each hand and double voice.
I'm not asking for this right now because it is the top of the mastery, especially if you need to voice maybe 3 notes and you're playing 6 or 7. And then you have also hierarchy between 3 notes in your voicing. Let's say the melody in the right hand, the chord underneath that you're still playing with your right hand, and the bass in the left hand. And you need to voice the melody, you need to voice the bass a little bit on the second room, and you need to voice maybe the lower note in the accompaniment chord that you play with your right hand in the third room, and then the rest of the notes somewhere at the end of the whole. Okay.
it's so interesting. I think it's achievable, but it's the field that requires a lot of work on this field.
Yes, I do that. I do that. It actually also gives you an illusion that the piece is so easy and the texture is so transparent. Another another comment I have about my playing, that everything is so light and so it looks so easy, because again this approach helps you to avoid this sensation of, oh my god, it's probably so hard, there are so many notes, But also technically it's amazing because you've saved energy. You don't need to press all 6 notes at the same level. So it is in a way easier.